Sesim geliyor mu?
Merhaba. Hello.
Hi.
Benim sesimden rahatsız olacaksınız
Hello.
bugün. Boğazım
Hi.
çok fena.
Hi, Rick. How are you?
Good. I can finally see you in person.
Yes, I can finally see you in person too. Actually, I saw you several times in your courses.
Cool. I'm closing some things.
Yeah.
There we go. So,
So
Hello,
we
Mr.
will be a
Simon.
small group tonight. It's past sunset here.
okay. How's the weather?
Dark. Yes, you are living the day.
Yes, it's 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. It's 7 p.m. here, and the sun has already said goodbye.
Okay.
And we are a small group of enthusiastic photographers. And as I mentioned before, our photography association's name is EFSAT.
Yep.
It is Eskişehir Fotoğraf Sanatı Derneği. The name of our city is Eskişehir. We are in Central Anatolia. And it's a 26-year-old association.
Wow.
We try our best, but the pandemic made things difficult for us. All the associations have stopped working. We are all imprisoned in front of our screens. All our sociality is depending on the internet and on computers now.
It's bad. It's really bad. In the United States, as you know, it's so bad. It's
Yes,
crazy.
you're right.
It's crazy.
I will introduce you to my friends.
Sure.
Semra Bayar is our chairman. And Alper, you can say hello, Semra.
Hey.
First of all, I want to say welcome. Hello, Mr. Simon. Thank you for being here. I am not good at speaking English, so I leave the word to my dear friend Çiçek. I'm very happy. We are very happy.
Well, I'm happy too. So I'll try to speak. I'm from New York, so I speak very fast all the time. So I'm going to try to speak a little slower.
Very good.
Thank you. Then we have.
Sorry.
Excuse me.
If you speak slowly, I can understand you.
Okay, I will try. I will try.
Hi, Rick. My name is Nokan.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm cold, and last time I was in Turkey, it was in August, and it was so hot. So, well, we were in Bodrum, and we were by Love Valley, the Valley of Love. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
We were in the balloon, so it was hot, but it's good. It's all good.
But
it's cold here too now.
we are living in Eskişehir, and Eskişehir is also very cold now. Today it was very cold.
Okay.
And it was very foggy. And then we have Alper. He is our vice chairman.
Hello, Rich.
Hi.
Welcome to Zoom meeting.
And there is no rain.
Yes, my English is not good, but I understand you.
Well, I think photography is like the
Yes.
they say photography is like the universal language.
Yes.
So I think this is great that we can communicate, through our pictures. I think our pictures can really say a lot.
Yes, they can. And we have Gökhan Deniz. He is our former chairman, and
Hello.
he is a board member and an academician as well.
Nice
Good.
to meet you.
Nice to meet. We need more young people like you.
Thank you.
Okay. So I've tried to prepare something for this talk, for this meeting. It will be about motivation in photography and inspiration, as we talked about earlier. But before that, can you tell us about yourself? Who is Rick Salmon? I know you are famous for being the godfather of photography. I see that everywhere, and you are very enthusiastic. You are a prolific photographer and always on the move. I admire you, and I also like your website and your phototherapy Facebook group. It's really very active and great. But can you tell us about yourself before we start?
Well, I would say, summing up, I like to have fun. You know, and I say, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. So I always like to have fun. I love photography, but I don't know if you can see my guitars in the background.
Yes, your invitation as well.
I play a lot of music, and I think I just like sharing. You know, I like traveling, but I like sharing. I love teaching. So, you know, when you asked me to do this, you know, since the pandemic, I really haven't been doing too many of these, but you said, you asked in such a nice way. I said, I have to do it. And I'm glad, because I hope to meet all of you guys here. We're doing the wild horses. Are the wild horses far from you?
Well, they are about 5 or 6 hours to Eskişehir. It's in Kayseri. We say yılkı atları in Turkish to them. I didn't have the chance to photograph them before. Maybe we can go on an expedition together.
I have some photos of them.
You have?
Yeah, I have some.
Did you go on a workshop, or did you go by yourself?
I went there by myself.
Because someone contacted me, and they wanted me to do a workshop but it was like, you know, $7,000. It was very US dollars. So it was very expensive. So I'm wondering if we could just go there by ourselves.
I think there's no need to go with some others. You can go there by yourself, and there are some people who are also photographer, and they are very helpful. If you contact before, then they can help you. I think it is better than the other way.
Good. So maybe when we have the vaccine,
Yes.
we can go. Because I would love to. The pictures that okay, it's Chichek.
Yes, Chichek.
Chichek. I got up close.
Yes, very close.
Maybe you could share that link with the people who haven't seen the wild horses, but that looks amazing.
Yes, I found that on Google Images.
Yeah.
There are lots of people who took photographs of them, and I can share that.
Great, great.
Yeah. Now, first, I prepared a little slideshow from the images that you sent us, and I want to share them with our group and you. It's a very short presentation, but it will warm us up, I think. And then we can continue with talking about motivation.
Sure.
Again, yes. So it started at and now. Yes, here you are.
There I am. Great
Okay.
job.
Thank you. You did the greatest
you.
job because all of your images are great. And I think more people should see it.
Well,
And
thank you.
there is much more on your website, on your blog.
Yep.
And I hope that after we release this video, you will have more fans.
Well,
Okay.
thank you very much. You did a
Yes.
good. Can you go back to one of those pictures, or is it just a show?
Well, I can open the pictures, but I made it into a movie. Which one would you like to see?
Actually, I think it would be easier if we. Are you going to go through the keynote slideshow that you put together?
Yes, I will
Yeah.
go through that.
We could do that. I think that would be easier.
And I'm so sorry I didn't have the opportunity to introduce you to Güzin Özlü. She is also a part of our team, and she's retired from the Ministry of Health, and she's also taking part in our talk. Güzin, do you want to say hello?
We
Yeah.
can't hear her.
Yes, she's got an audio problem because of
Okay,
the phone.
but
So
she can hear us.
yes, I will start with the presentation I prepared. Just a second. Okay. So, Rick, you can ask me to proceed.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
And the beginning, how to stay motivated and inspired.
Cool. Well, thank you again. And I think today, especially with COVID, we really have to stay motivated and we have to stay inspired, whether we're taking a picture, whether we're playing music, because if we're not motivated, if we're not inspired, how can we really do creative work? And you're working on this mask project, right?
Yes.
So you're motivated to do that. You're inspired to do that. And I think that's why these pictures that you're sharing on the Phototherapy Facebook group page are so good. And they're so wonderful. And people are loving them because you feel motivated and you feel inspired. And I think, whether it was great classical musicians like Mozart and Beethoven, these people were like inspired, or the great painters like Vermeer, and we're going to share a Vermeer picture coming up and a Renoir picture coming up. They were really inspired. So I think it's really important. So that's why, I sent you that ebook to put this little presentation together. So we can go to the next slide.
Okay, this is the next.
Yep. So anyway, I have 10 techniques. So I think we're going to have time to go through some of these. And stealing. If my mother was listening, she'd be very unhappy that I'm talking about stealing, but you'll see why. You'll see why this really makes sense, because there's an expression that you want to steal like an artist. And, let me see, because I have the presentation here too. Yeah. Here, let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
Because this will explain it more. So I'm sure many of you have seen Vermeer's painting, The Girl with the Pearl Earrings. So that's the little picture we have, down at the bottom. So again, there's an expression to steal like an artist. And the idea is really you want to try to emulate. You want to try to, copy the work of the artist, because we can learn so much. We can learn so much from the masters. So we're really imitating. And, I play, I don't know who your favorite musicians are over there, but I like Carlos Santana, Eric Clapton. I'm sure there's famous Turkish guitar players that
I like Johnny Cash, for example.
So if I were listening, I would try to emulate. So if we look at this picture here of Vermeer's painting, I wanted to steal I was following this idea to try to steal like an artist. So what I really like about Vermeer's painting is the shadows on the face. There's an interesting expression that I don't know if Joe McNally.
Yes, I know from Kelby One.
he has a great expression, and the expression is, if you want an interesting portrait, don't light the subject's entire face. So it's the shadows that add a sense of depth and dimension. So this girl that you're looking at, actually my friend's daughter, I thought she was just so beautiful. I said, I have to take a picture. I'm going to try to, steal like an artist. So we got the props and everything. And I did this in the studio behind me, which don't change yet, but you'll see the setup. But I did that right here. So the idea is you don't need, thousands of dollars of lighting equipment and a fancy studio to make a picture. Also, Frank Dorhoff, he's a friend of mine. I think you might know him. He's a Kelby One instructor. He has a very interesting expression. He says, when you think you need 2 lights, use 1 light. When you think you need 3 lights, use 1 light. So this portrait is a 1 light. So what I was doing is I'm directing her, and I'm trying to get the shadows to fall in the right place. But you may not be able to see it on the screen, but maybe afterward, C-check. That's right, C-check, right?
Yes.
You may want to enlarge it and zoom in, because there's a little catch light in the eye. So I'm directing her, and I'm moving the light so I get the catch light in the eye. So I'm trying to copy the shadows. I'm trying to copy, the expression. I'm trying to copy the props. So this is a really good exercise, when we're stuck at home, if you have a family member. And if we could go to the next slide, you'll see,
Yes.
that I did this. I did this like, right here behind me. And I had the Canon strobe, Canon speedlight in a softbox. So we had the pictures all around. So we were able to get the shot without a lot of work, because I was prepared to do it. So stealing like an artist, emulating the work of the artist is important. So
And
because
it takes a lot.
if people have questions, by the way, just raise your hand and then we could answer them.
Okay, sorusu olan olursa el kaldırmanız yeterli arkadaşlar. Okay.
So if we go to the, okay, so let's try the next one. Okay, so Rembrandt has a famous painting, Old Soldier with the feather in his cap. You see his picture on the left there. So this is my neighbor, his name is Jay. I sent away for that thing around his neck. I found it on Amazon. It's called a gorget. We got the hat on Amazon. We got the feather and everything. And that was taken back here too. So I'm trying to copy it. And we have one more example of stealing like an artist coming up. So Renoir's Girl Combing Her Hair. So taken back here too. We found a nice red background. And what I loved, there's an expression. Am I speaking slow enough?
Yeah, it's okay.
There's an expression, light illuminates, shadows define. So the light and the shadows is real. And we're going to talk about making a picture with impact coming up, but it's the light and the shadows. So what I did is the picture actually looked a little flat, but if you look at Monet's A Girl Combing Her Hair, you see that the highlights are on her hair and the highlights on her shoulders and the highlights on her forearm and on her hand. So what I did is I took the Dodge tool, because I work in Photoshop more than Lightroom, but you could do the same thing in Lightroom. So I'm dodging to add those highlights. So this is really a fun thing to do if you have a portrait or a landscape. We were in China with Scott Kelby, and we were taking these beautiful landscapes, but sometimes it was overcast. So what he suggested was, he said, this is like this is the pen for the Wacom tablet, by the way. He said, just, doesn't really matter. Just add some highlights in places. And this really added a lot to the landscape. So what's great about photography is what we learn in one area, we can apply to another. So the burning and dodging that I did here, you could do the same thing to make a landscape a little more interesting.
Yes. And can we also try to recreate the work of the master landscape photographers?
Yes, So if we go to the next slide, we could see that Ansel Adams. Actually, I heard Ansel Adams is not that famous outside of the United States. Is he? Not that he's not famous, that a lot of people don't think he was that great outside of the United States. Someone told me that actually from Iceland. Is that true? Do you guys think he's like the world's greatest landscape photographer who ever lived, or just like another photographer?
Well, I heard his name, but I did not do much exploration into it.
How about the?
Sorry, I may add something. I know many photographers, Turkish photographers, who likes and who thinks the Ansel Adams is a great photographer. So I think if a photographer is a landscape photographer, then he or she knows Ansel Adams in Turkey, I think.
Well, yeah, I think he was like a master. I grew up, watching his work, and we talked about being motivated and being inspired. Ansel Adams, one of his main goals, yes, he was a photographer, but he wanted to protect the national parks here in the United States. And through his photography, he conveyed the beauty of the parks. But Cicek, I have an Ansel Adams story. And wait, what was our friend's name who just Okan?
Okan.
Okan.
Okan.
Okay.
Yes, Okan.
So you've seen some of Ansel Adams' pictures, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I'll tell the story, Cicek, and then maybe you could do a quick translation of it.
Okay. I will also subtitle this video.
Oh,
after
okay.
We are recording. Yes.
So anyway, Ansel Adams, he was a master of black and white photography. He did HDR photography with paper and chemicals and burning and dodging. He was amazing. So here's the story. Someone writes Ansel Adams a letter before. The person lived on the East Coast where I live. Ansel Adams lived on the West Coast. And the guy on the East Coast, before computers, writes Ansel Adams a letter. And he's unhappy with Ansel Adams. Now, who could be unhappy with Ansel Adams? So he says, "Dear Mr. Adams, I have your books." Ansel Adams wrote actually many books, but two really great books, one the print, one the negative. He says, "I have your books. I have your posters. You inspired me. You inspired me to go to Yosemite National Park. But when I got there, it didn't look like that." Meaning it doesn't look like that because he created, his work, in the digital darkroom. So I don't know if you want to translate that now, if everyone got it.
Ansel Adams'ın bir hayranı ona bir şikayet mektubu yazmış. Çektiği ulusal parkın kitabındaki halini parka gittiğinde görememiş. O yüzden şikayetçi olmuş. Yani burası sizin çektiğiniz gibi değil. Ve Rick şunu söylüyor. Karanlık odada kimyasallar kullanarak fotoğrafları işlediğini söylüyor ince şekilde Ansel Adams'ın. Okay.
So it doesn't look like that. So what I do is, with your work with your masks, you had a picture of the mask on the railroad tracks, right?
Yes.
In the back, it doesn't look like that. If someone went there, it wouldn't look like that. So I encourage people to follow your heart, right? Create your own artwork. And some people might criticize you for that, but look at Picasso. If someone said to him, "Oh, that cubism," where he used all the cubes in the face, that's stupid. He would still be painting, regular old. He would have been painting regular old portraits. So we really have to follow our heart. And I think what you're doing with your mask project is really good. So anyway, on the screen here, you see this is a Monument Valley, a very famous place in the United States. I wanted to, emulate. I wanted to copy that. So I go there. And his picture was taken in this bright sunlight. I waited till after sunset to take the shot. So anyway, I was standing in the same place as him, which is kind of cool. So trying to, you know, emulate the work is really important. But on the next slide, this is important too. You always have to give credit where credit is due. You have to be honest. So there's a big difference between stealing and borrowing. So, you know, if I'm working on a picture, say it's a wildlife picture, and it's taken like at a wildlife park, I tell people that was taken at a wildlife park because it might be impossible to get that kind of picture, you know, out in the wild. So honesty is the best policy. So on the next slide, it says the second way to get motivated is to share. And I'm on, go ahead.
There's a question for you.
Yep.
Before coming the next topic, I have one question. When you steal some master's work, do you think to try to add something more on the pictures, or copy as the master's work? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it's good to try to copy, but then to add like if you go back to the Ansel Adams picture, yeah. So I love his picture, but I like the softer light. So I was in the same place, but I added a softer touch. But the idea is that we could really learn, just like getting back to music. You know, if I'm playing a guitar solo, you know, I'll try to copy the solo, but you know, then if I just copy, I'm just copying it, right? Which is okay. But then if I could make it sound a little better, you know, there are some Beatles songs that some people have done that I like better than the way the Beatles played them. Not many, but some.
I studied linguistics at university, and one of my professors said that no sentence can be the equal of another, even if the same words are used. For example, you say good morning 28 times, and each time it has got a different meaning, a different sense. So even if you copy the photograph or the image, something changes. The light, the mood, the feeling, and it should change, I think.
Well, while we're on that topic, I don't know if we can you, let me, it was in the slideshow. It's not in here. Just along those lines, I have my wife who's in the next office over there. We were teaching a workshop out west where these Ansel Adams pictures were taken. And someone's unhappy because it was like, they were not getting the iconic shots. They were not getting the Ansel Adams shots. So she calls me on the cell phone. She says, I'm really unhappy. I'm not getting the iconic shots. So I said, great, because then you can get your own shots. So it's good to try to copy the iconic shots. But then, as I think it's, I have to look again, Okan said, you know, then try to do your own. But it's really a great way to learn. Just like with and getting back to, you know, what we were talking about before, what you learn in one area, what you learn in another area, it's the same thing. What's the most famous Turkish dish, by the way? Like a
Shish
Iskender
kebab.
kebab, maybe, yes.
Shish kebab.
Okay, shish kebab. Okay, so you know you might have that.
What did you like when you came?
I forget. We had some nice fish in Budrum because I love fish. But anyway, what I'm saying is, you know, you could try to copy the recipe by the most famous chef in the world for shish kebab or whatever, but then, you know, make it your own. So it's like the same thing. Okay, so the slide. Okay, let's see the next. Oh yeah. Okay, so sharing social media. It's just really important to be on social media, but like when you're putting together your website or whatever, I think it's really important to remember what your mother told you, or what my mother told me, is that first impressions are really important. So if someone's going to go on your website, someone's going to go on your Instagram page, someone's going to do this, they're going to make a decision about you pretty fast. So you really have to put your best work out there and realize that, you know, you have to know your audience, who's watching. So I change up my website here, and then the picture you see here, actually, if we go to the next one.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to, you know, grab someone's attention. So people like cheetahs here in the United States. So I put this cheetah picture there when I was doing this out of Africa photo workshop. So first impressions are very, very important.
Important. I read that in 40 seconds, a person decides if he wants to continue or she wants to continue to follow or to speak with that person. It's a very short time, only 40 seconds in this course.
Well, that's true. And I do a lot of a public, well, I used to, not not with the pandemic, but I used to go around and I used to be on a stage and talking, right? And when you're giving a talk, and you may have noticed that I'm using my hands a lot, right? I'm doing this, I'm doing the 2, I'm doing the 3 lights. Body language, when you're giving a talk, is for the first 40 seconds, like you just said, body language is actually more important than what you're saying, because you get up on the stage, and if you're just like this, oh, you know, I'm really glad to be here. I'm going to show you the best pictures you've ever seen in my life, you know, your life. Who cares? But if you get up and say, hey, listen, I want to share with you some great advice, you know, things that I've learned over the years, you know, that's a lot more interesting. So what you're saying is true. So first impressions are very, very important.
Yes, they are. And I love the picture of the cheetahs very much.
Well, do you know how to tell the difference between a cheetah and a leopard?
No.
Well, a cheetah is so beautiful that it makes you cry. So cheetah cry, it kind of rhymes. Those black marks look like teardrops.
I see.
So
I
actually,
learned. Oh, yes.
so the next slide is what makes the viewer. What does it say? What makes impact? Well, the first thing is never underestimate the importance of a good subject. You know, like those horses. You know, those wild horses are just amazing. It's a good subject. It would be probably hard to get not a good picture of those horses. But actually, we have a group here called the PPA, Professional Photographers Association of America, and they put together this list of what makes an image with impact. You know, what makes a good picture. So you could go through all of these. Composition is important, lighting is important, storytelling, but you know, there is something else. And this is what the number 13 is. Those are 12. And and if we could go to the next slide, this is the most important thing. It's connecting with the subject, and it's emotion. Those pictures of the horses with the dust and everything, those pictures have such emotion. You could have a picture of a person. Here's a picture of my dad. Now that may not mean anything to the people watching, but it's actually my favorite picture probably that I've ever taken. It was the last picture I took of my dad. He's looking out the window and whatever. Anyway, I was connecting with him. So connecting emotionally with the subject is really important. And there's an expression that the camera looks both ways. The camera sees both ways, meaning that in picturing the subject, you're also picturing a part of yourselves, meaning the mood, the feeling, the body, everything that you're projecting is going to be reflected in your subject. So here you can see my father looks very relaxed. I'll share a story with you going back to the sharing. So I've been doing this a long time, and you gave me that nice introduction, right? That I'm known as the godfather of photography. That's only because I'm one of the oldest photographers around. But
No, there are older ones like Jay Maisel, for
Jay
example.
Maisel, yeah, I'm 70. He's I think 85 now.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I put this picture of my father on the web, and I'm talking about the emotional part of it. I said it's my favorite picture. I think I connected with him, and people wrote beautiful things about the picture, except one person. Guy writes, he says, Rick, you're supposed to be a professional photographer. Look how big your father's hands are, like in it. You know, he said, you use a wide angle lens, you're too close, his hands are bigger than his head and things like that. So I said, well, I did that on purpose. And here's why. Because when I was a kid, I was sitting at a desk like this. And, you know, when I'm 10 years old, and my father, who was my hero at that time, right? And he still is a hero. He would put his arms around me and his hands and help me with my homework, right? So his hands were so important for me in life and in this picture. So, you know, when we criticize pictures, when we critique pictures, when we look for things in pictures, I don't think we can, this is why I don't like judging photo contests, because how do we know really what the photographer was trying to say, right? And if we don't know, you know, what the photographer was trying to say, how can we really say something about the picture, right?
That's right.
So I think, and so speaking about the connection, if we go to the next picture, you know, of the, you know, the idea is always shoot with passion. So did I have the same kind of connection, right, with this mommy lion, this lioness and her cubs? Well, maybe, because look how those little cubs are looking right at me. But the thing is, I felt a connection with these, and I wanted to get this picture just as much as I wanted to get the picture that you just saw of my father. I really wanted to get this shot. So not a very easy picture to get, because we're driving around in the safari vehicle, and this mommy and the cubs, they're walking all around on the Masai Mara, which is in Kenya. And I wanted to get the backlight, that beautiful, you know, rim light. We see that beautiful rim light against with the cubs and somewhat on the mommy. So we're driving around for about a half an hour, and I'm taking some snapshots. But this is the shot, you know, I wanted to go for. I wanted to set a goal. So the guide was driving left, right, back, stop, no, stop. I'm telling him, no, more left, no left, stop, go this way. So I'm directing him till I finally got the shot. So getting back to what we were talking about before, honesty is the best policy. The driver gets half the credit for this picture for sure. I never in a million years would have gotten this picture if it were not for the driver. But Cicek, you mentioned Jay Maisel.
Yes.
And Jay Maisel talks about something that is so very important in photography, and it's what's called gesture. Does that translate?
Gesture, yes. It means the way you stand, the way you pose, or the position of your face, your facial expression.
Right.
Your
So
yes.
So it's, look at the mommy. You know, we have a little bit of gesture in her pole. Look how the mommy is looking down on the cubs. Look how the cubs both have their paws and their legs like this. So I picked this picture out of the series of pictures based on the gesture. So this is how I pick a lot of pictures. And in the next picture, in the next slide, look at the gesture of this model. It's, you know, yes, it's great lighting. Yes, she's beautiful. Yes, we have the light background that stands out. Mm-hmm. But most, I think it's the gesture. So the third thing is, you know, searching. Do a search on the masters, because again, we can learn so much. If we go to the next slide, you know, back in the 70s, I was the editor of Studio Photography magazine. And I interviewed, I don't know if you've ever heard of any of these people. I think Alkan, you ever hear of these guys?
I haven't. Actually.
Yes, I have heard.
So I knew these guys. I interviewed these guys for this magazine, and it was just amazing. It was just amazing what I learned from them. They were passionate. They were really passionate about photography. So definitely do a search on famous photographers. Okay.
Yeah, especially when the style of the photographer is close to your style, you go into that search. That's the way I learn about important photographers.
Yes, and it's the same thing with music. If you want to play jazz, follow a jazz person, right? You want to learn rock and roll, do a rock and roll.
Okay, and
Okay. Okay. Number 4, join. We have to join, groups like your group. Maybe you could send around a link to our Facebook group, C-Check, and maybe
Sure.
some people want to do that.
I will do. Mhm.
Okay. The next one, 5. This is really important. We have to learn. We have to learn about all the things we could do in Photoshop and in Lightroom and with plugins and, and what our different lenses do, of course. Because then if we take a shot, like I was walking around out west. No, if we go back to the train for just a second, we were walking around out west and, I just took a quick shot. This train was speeding by. So I didn't have time to do HDR, but I knew there was something there. I knew that I could create black and white. I know I could straighten that pole in Photoshop. So I really like the black and white version of it. I love the clouds and everything, but look how the picture started out. So if we, there's a famous book called Bird by Bird. It's not a photography book, but the message of this book is that you want to learn, like if you want to learn about all the birds there are in the world, learn what about one bird at a time. It's the same thing with Photoshop and Lightroom. How are you going to learn everything at one time? It's impossible. So you do one thing at a time. Learn black and white. Learn about contrast. Learn about the curves. Learn about channel mixers. Learn about all this stuff. And if we do that, in the next slide, you see this picture was not taken in Africa. This was taken in Texas. But, I want to create a feeling that it was taken in Africa. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see I cropped it. I took out the wires in the back. I made it a sepia tone. And this picture, we were just driving around on like on a road. So if you go back to the other one, you see, it's basically a snapshot. You can see the telephone pole in the back, but cropping. I'm big on cropping. Cropping gives us, in the next one, cropping gives us a second chance at composition. So we talked about making an image with impact. This picture has a lot more impact simply because, well, it's cropped. Also, we talked about never underestimate the importance of a good subject. Look how cute that baby giraffe that was just born like a few days before. So it's kind of like a lucky shot.
It is a beautiful shot as well.
Thank you. Okay, number 6. This is so important. Change, especially in time of COVID. I'm I know we're in lockdown, but I'm very grateful. So I'm not that unhappy. I mean, I'm unhappy when I'm traveling, but I'm busy. I'm doing, actually, C-Check. I don't know if everyone knows about Kelby One, but this month I'm doing 4 Kelby One classes on their travel conference. I just recorded one on birds. I released one last month on my favorite sayings. I wrote a book. I started a Facebook group. So I'm changing, and we have to change. I know people who aren't changing, and they're not happy. So I feel this, that if a caterpillar, right, an ugly caterpillar, we could go to the next slide, can crawl around, right, and turn into one of the most beautiful creatures on the planet, right? Mm-hmm. If that could do it, we could do it. So we have to. Now I know it's easy to say, oh, okay, I'm going to change. Well, the thing is, we have to get motivated. I think photography, if we learn something new, you know, the Buddhists say learning is health. And I really believe that. My father, who you saw, he was 92 when I took that picture. I was teaching him the clone stamp tool in Photoshop. He had a little trouble with it, but he was learning. So we have to learn. And if we go to the next slide, this is my favorite quote. I have a lot of quotes. It goes, when you're through changing, you're through, meaning you're done, right? So especially at the time of COVID, we have to change. So when it comes to photography, if you look at this picture, you know, try something new. This picture was taken with a flashlight about this size, taken with a $5 flashlight. So it's a painting with light shot. So what I'm doing is it's a 10-second exposure, a 10-second exposure. So I'm painting her in a dark room, totally dark room, cameras on a tripod. I'm painting the face, I'm painting the background, I'm painting the saddle, I'm painting all this. Now, it did take a while. Now, Cechek, you probably know Dave Black.
He's also on Kelby One.
Kelby One is he's the master of painting with light. But if you look at this picture, it looks like there's a light behind her, a light on her face, and maybe a light coming up. It's one light. It's just one little $5 flashlight.
I'm so sorry. I watched a video of him doing light painting with ballerina, I think. And he also did some light painting with flowers in a closed area.
I think maybe for your group, you want to try light painting. And in the next shot, this would be another. This would be another good idea. In the next one, try photographing by candlelight, and getting now this picture of the Buddhist monk was taken in Myanmar, but you know it's all candles, and you could do the same thing when you're photographing, you know, in your kitchen. So giving ourselves these assignments and our challenges, like we do on the Phototherapy Facebook group page, it's really a good way to get motivated and get inspired. So when we can travel again, when I come over to Turkey, we have the shish kebab and we do the horses and we go in the hot air balloons and we do all this, you know, then we're ready to go, because it has to become automatic. Like in other words, if I'm playing guitar, if I'm thinking about what key am I in, where's my fingers going to go, how am I going to pick over here, it's never going to work. So with our cameras, you know, we have to be able to operate our cameras like in the dark, right? Because if we're fumbling around with the dials and the buttons, we're going to miss the shot. So again, what we learn in one area, we go to another. So, so we're going to go to we're going to skip. That's the next one. Let's go to this one, travel. You know, I have traveled, and we could go through these kind of quickly. I've traveled to Alaska to photograph the bald eagles. This breaks one of the rules of composition, by the way, the bald eagle shot. It's really going like out of the frame, but I like the splash behind it. But anyway, and here's another shot from Alaska. You know, a nice, you know, they call these grounded icebergs like on the ground. I mean, to see this is beautiful. And I've been to Cambodia, you know, where I photographed Angkor Wat, you know, this incredible temple. It was in the movie Tomb Raider, by the way. But we don't have to do that. If we go to the next shot, we'll skip that. This Buddhist temple is a half hour from my house. And here's the idea. You go back to the same place. If we could go to the first shot of the dam, the next one, that one. This is 5 minutes from my house. And if we go through the next couple of slides while I'm talking, is every time I go there, I say, I'm not going to come back with the same type of image. If we leave this one, I'm going to go at night. This picture was taken at night. This picture was taken at night. I made them black and white pictures. Here I'm photographing some of the rapids. So the idea is, if we challenge ourselves, if we say, I'm not going to come back, I'm not going to come back without a different type of picture or processing a picture differently, this is a great way to get motivated and inspired and to grow.
And it teaches also a lot when you go back to a certain space.
Yeah,
You get over it again and again. You learn the times of the day when the light is the best. It really improves you.
absolutely. Absolutely. And we could change the mood and the color. In these pictures, you see how the different color tones change the mood. Okay, number 8. You asked me you asked in the beginning, say something about yourself. I didn't say all the books I have or stuff like that, because I like.
Back to that, you also write lots of books. 42 is the last number.
Yeah, 42 is and here's what's interesting. This is my best-selling book, Phototherapy.
Mhm.
Best-selling photography book. Get this.
No images. Yeah.
And my second best book, which just came out last year, same thing. And here's why. I didn't want people to be distracted by a pretty picture or a sentimental picture or a colorful picture, because it's really about ourselves. Photography is really what we like. So what I'm trying to do with these books, I'm trying to give some inspiration. And I didn't want people to be distracted. So anyway, getting back to this picture, I like to have fun. And I like to have fun everywhere I go. If we go through the next picture, this was taken in Cuba. The next one was taken in Provence. Hey, when we come and do the wild horses, I want you guys to take a picture of me with the wild horses. Okay.
Of course. Yes.
And I'll do the same.
First.
But anyway, this was amazing. And the next one was taken in Kenya. And I'm having fun with these guys. And I tried to make it, they have a jumping contest, who could jump the highest. And if I took this picture before I took this next picture, because I wanted them to like me. I wanted them to accept me. So this is really important. So after you take the fun shots, you can move in and take the regular shots. Okay,
you make some connections before you
have to
get.
You have to. I think, I do a lot of magic tricks, and actually I did some magic tricks for these people. And so when I go to a country, I bring a bag of magic tricks, and they don't even know I'm a photographer. They think I'm a traveler who does magic, and they like me and they accept me. So
Right.
This is important. Okay, number 9 is look. Everyone who's in your meeting today, and again, I thank you so much for joining us. Everyone who's in the meeting today should be so happy that they're a photographer, because they see the world differently than a non-photographer. And it's just like, music. If you're a musician, you're hearing the music, you're hearing the bass and the drums and all this. If you're not a musician, you just, it's not the same. So in photography, there's a big difference between looking and seeing. So if we look in a scene like this, if we only have one chance to get a shot, I'm moving around to get this cowboy silhouetted with the sun, just perfect like that. So we have the starburst shot at f/22. So this is important to think about. I think that we're so lucky. We're so lucky that we're photographers, that we see the world differently. So thank you again for joining. And the same thing in the next one, in the next slide.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that angle where it might make a picture that looks a little different. So just by moving in, less than an inch sometimes, it can make the difference.
Yeah.
And speaking of looking, this is going to sound funny. This was taken in Iceland. So I don't know if you have to translate now, but sometimes the subject is not the subject.
Bazen konu, çektiğiniz konu asıl konu olmuyor diyor. Yes.
I agree. uh, but so we're in Iceland, and I told the people I was teaching a workshop, I said, okay, we're here. You could only take one picture. What's the one picture that you would take? You only have one. You could only take one. And of course, afterwards, I said you could take a million pictures. But so it was very interesting because if you go to the next slide, this is the picture that most people took. It's the clouds behind. So if we go back to the geyser one, the color one, you could see those clouds in the back. So the geyser is pretty and things like that. But everyone, most of the people saw the clouds. These are called lenticular clouds. If we go back to the black and white one. They saw how beautiful these clouds were. So I think it's interesting that sometimes the subject is not the subject. So getting back to Okan's thing about, you see something and try to make it your own, that geyser, there's a million pictures of it because it's actually pretty famous. And it erupts at a certain time. There's 1,000, you can see in the background in the blue one, there's hundreds of people around. So we want to try to create our own original picture. So we're going to go through my steps for creative visualization now. And the first one, so these are my 6 steps. And I guess when you do the subtitles, it'll be easier. So we have to find a subject.
Definitely.
So
Yes.
if we go back to the other one, the first one, this is interesting. I don't know if this translates, but this is a place called Fairy Glen, like a fairy, that dances around like in Peter Pan.
Bu perili Peter Pan gibi perili bir alan gibi adlandırılıyormuş bu yer. Okay.
So this is called Fairy Glen. So I'm so excited. My friend in North Wales says, we're going to go to Fairy Glen. So I'm picturing like this magical place, like out of Harry Potter with these beautiful gold and yellow tones. And I'm so excited. And we get there, and in the next slide, you'll see, this is what it looked like. This is Fairy Glen. And it's famous because the light comes down these two, this opening in the rocks, and the water trickles down. So it is a good subject, but to me, it didn't really look like anything that I had imagined. So if we go to the next slide, so one is select a subject. Number 2 is we want to compose carefully. So I originally composed with the starburst in there, but then I thought it really detracted from Fairy Glen. So I took that out. So 2 is to compose carefully. 3 is to see the light. This is so important. We have to learn how to see the contrast range in the scene. So I knew the contrast here was so great that I had to do HDR. So here I'm taking 5 exposures. I think even, and this was taken a few years ago, I think even with the newer versions of Photoshop and Lightroom, I think you might still need HDR. So we want to determine, we want to see the light so we can make the right exposure. So in the next one, we see, we have to find our focus. And this is important. Just because we have an autofocus camera, it does not mean that the camera knows where we want to focus, right? So I want a landscape picture, and this Ansel Adams used this technique too, but he might have, he had the same goal. He might have used a different technique. He wanted his landscape pictures to look like it looks to our eyes, everything in focus. So to get everything in focus here, I used a wide angle lens, a small aperture, and I focused 1/3 into the scene. So if here's like the scene from here to here, this would be half. So I focused like 1/3 into the scene. So wide angle lens, small aperture, and I focused 1/3 into the scene. So that's, today you could use focus stacking. I'm sure you know about that in Photoshop. So number 5 is to expose. Again, this looks like the other slide, but basically I'm just saying again that I saw the light, I needed HDR, And then to get that creative visualization, I know I spent a lot of time working with all the different plugins. And I remembered that this plugin from On1 Software had this kind of like magical look to it. So in the next slide, you'll see the comparison between what I saw, what it looked like on the left. And then if we go to the next one, did it go? Yeah. Yeah. So on the left, we have, what it looked like. And then because I used creative visualization, I was able to create the vision that I saw in my mind's eye. And the last one, number 10, this is so, this is, actually, this could be number 1 too. A few years ago, I made being healthy a really important priority in my life. I go for 2 walks a day. You were kind enough to mention that I've written 42 books. People say, Rick, how do you write 42 books? I say, I go for a walk. I'll go for actually 2 walks every day. And that's when we get ideas. If we're at our computers, if we're searching the web, if we're doing this, if we're checking the text, if we're doing this, how can we come up with an idea? So going for a walk is a great way to get ideas. And the next slide, I love this quote. It says, if you are seeking creative ideas, go out walking. Angels whisper to a man who goes for a walk. So I figure if it's good enough for penguins, in the next slide, we have the lions walking in Africa again. This is really important to go out walking. So, and I asked a question here, when was the last time you went for a walk without the distraction of your cell phone? When I go out, my son is 30 and he always has a cell phone, and all young people always have the cell phone. When I go out walking, I don't take the cell phone with me. I don't want a cell phone is, a cell phone is like a leash, right? Mm-hmm. You're like leashed to the cell phone. I find people are amazed when they just go out walking. So, and then
creativity as well.
Yeah, you get ideas. You get ideas when you're sleeping too, right? So go for a walk and go for a sleep. So you say in your slide here, what impressions do you get from your country? And shall we expect you to get there? So the next slide shows that one picture I took from the hot air balloon, actually both pictures from the hot air balloon. But my impressions were, the people were super friendly. We went to Bodrum. We went, of course, to Istanbul. Mm-hmm. We went around. We stayed in a cave hotel. I forget where the cave hotel was.
In Cappadocia.
In Cappadocia, right? We loved, the cave hotel was amazing. So the food.
What season was it? Was it?
Well, it was August. It was just so hot. It was unbearably hot. I mean, we have to find, if we plan me coming over there, we have to find out when it's not hot.
Well, spring and autumn is really a nice time to explore. October is great.
Well, I would love to do it.
I think for Cappadocia, the winter is also very good because some snow on the rocks, and it is very photographic.
Oh wow, that sounds good. And the horses in the snow would be good too.
Yes, sure.
Well, do you guys have any questions?
Well, I enjoyed every minute as usual. And each time I listen to your talks or your courses, I want to watch more or I want to listen more. So I continue with another one. And Calvi One is a great place for that. And today I made up my mind to get a Kindle version of your latest book.
Oh, thank you.
Because the hardcover ships in 1 month, and that's a long time. So I think the Kindle will do the same.
Yeah.
And thank you so very much. for this presentation.
Well, thank you. It was fun. This is my favorite topic to talk about because I really think we need to get motivated and get inspired.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see if I could say all the names from. Is it SL? Is it Sim Arslan?
Semra,
Okay, Alper. I got Alper.
Yes, hello.
Alper,
That's true.
And the good-looking young guy. I can't see his name.
Deniz,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, to the good-looking young guy. There's a great show on. I think it's on Amazon. It's called Mozart in the Jungle.
Mm,
It's about Mozart the composer,
okay.
and the lead
Mhm.
actor looks a little like you.
Thank you.
Mozart in the Jungle. It's really good.
Okay.
Okay,
I
wait.
will-
Then we
I will-
have C check. We have A. I can't see A's first name. Goose.
Ayşe Güzin, it's the
Thank you,
Ace
Rich.
Ayşe and Güzin,
And then we have Semra. Yes,
Semra.
Okay. Well, I'm trying. So if I come over, you and I will work together on the names.
It's easy to learn their names, and we had three more friends. They couldn't make it. Salim, and we have got Erkan Balk. He's underwater photographer. Actually, we wanted him to meet you, but he's an engineer and he works really hard.
He's not here?
He's not here now.
Oh,
He's an award-winning underwater lake photographer.
He's
Uh,
online. He's online now.
oh.
Erkan.
I'm so sorry that person's not here. This is one of my favorite books.
Here, he's here. Yes, I couldn't see him.
Oh,
Look.
okay. So this is called Under the Sea in 3D. This is actually a 3D book where you wear the 3D glasses, right? And the pictures come off the page. But he's a lake photographer?
Yes, he dives in lakes.
Well, he's here?
Yes, he's here. I just saw him.
And the name is?
Erkan Balk. I'm trying to.
Oh yeah, I say Erkan. Erkan, do you know Lake Baikal in Siberia? I don't think he can hear.
Erkan, duyabiliyor musun?
Oh, he's muted, I think. It looks like. Yeah, he's muted. Anyway,
Erkan, sesini açabilir misin? Nasıl açacağız? Bakalım.
Anyway, he's here.
Evet.
Anyway, you could tell him afterwards that my wife and I both dived in Lake Baikal in Siberia, which was quite an experience.
I will tell him.
We dived under the ice. There was 3 feet of ice. 3 feet of ice. We had to cut a hole in the ice. We had to go under the ice to take pictures. It was great.
Yeah, and it was cold. I suppose.
Yeah, it was well, yeah, because the ice is, it's freezing, and then under was so cold. It was unbearably cold. So, well, I want to
Erkan
thank you.
ses geliyor, konuşabiliriz.
Evet. I think he turned it on. Erkan.
Çiçek Hanım biraz destek de alacağım İngilizceden.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I speak a little English, not very well.
That is okay. I was just saying I was scuba diving in Lake Baikal, a famous lake in
Yes.
Siberia.
River, like fresh water, underwater
He
fresh
dives in
water
fresh-
swimming.
Yeah, this was fresh water. This is
Yes.
it was so crazy. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate turn that off. I really appreciate you spending some time with me, and I hope you get the vaccine soon. I hope this is all over.
I hope to, because it's a difficult time. I'm sorry for young people. We have come to a certain age, but they have a long life ahead of them. I
I
hope
know.
this all change and we can travel around and take more photographs. Can I take a screenshot of all of us together
Mhm.
now?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And here, thank you so very much, Rick, for
Okay.
joining us.
Thank
Have
you.
you got any questions to ask? Do you want to learn anything we can help with?
Well, thank you so much.
I also want to thank you, Rick. We learned something more tonight, and every morning I go walking also, but
Good.
I always take my mobile with me. From tomorrow, I will leave it at home, and I learned it. Thank you.
Oh, good. Well, stay
Okay.
safe, everybody.
Thank
Stay
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
See you
bye.
Bye.
Kesildi mi?
later, alligator.